Last year, when I was at 42 Gear Street, the wonderful people at Sennheiser asked if I would make a video about their guitar cabinet microphones. And as a long-time user of the E609 and recent convert to the MD421, of course I want to talk about these mics. A straight A-B shootout would be the most boring video imaginable, so I told Sennheiser I had a more interesting idea. A ridiculous cabinet miking technique I've encountered at live shows that the Sennheiser team had never heard of, and I would love to try for myself. And since we had half an hour of studio time, a loud Mad Professor old school combo, and a Sweetwater exclusive colour Yamaha Pacifica on hand, it felt rude not to explore the bizarre recording technique of pointing a microphone directly into the floor. When choosing which microphone to mic up your guitar cab with, you might have a question for yourself. Do I put it on a stand, or do I just hang it off the cable? This is the 421 Kompakt, and it needs to go on a stand. This is the smaller version of the larger 421. And this is a 609. This is a microphone designed to be hung from an XLR cable in front of a cabinet, like I've got arranged down here. I personally use both of these microphones in different projects when I'm out miking up cabinets. And the choice between taking a 609 or a 421 really for me comes down to, do I know there's going to be a mic stand available for me when I get to the other side? When I'm walking into a situation and there's a cabinet here, will someone have provided me with a mic stand? Will I have brought one myself? Because sometimes I can't and sometimes they don't. Or if I'm not sure that's going to be the case, the 609 really is the microphone that I want to choose. It's very small and it can be hung very easily off of an XLR cable. On the cabinet right now is a little strange arrangement. This is sometimes what I see at local shows, is a microphone that's really supposed to be on a mic stand is hung off a cable, and this capsule points directly to the floor. With the MD421 microphones, the capsule faces straight forward, so anything you want to mic has to be at this end of the microphone. If you're using it as a vocal mic, you'd be speaking into it this way. But that's different with the 609. This capsule faces this way. We've got the grey grill, silver grill, with the word front on it. The capsule faces this way. So if I was to use this as a vocal mic, I would be speaking into it like this. And if I was making a guitar cabinet, it would flip upside down and slot on like this, flat against the grill. So when choosing between these two microphones, size does matter. As we can see down on the cabinet, your 609 or 906 will take up a lot less space in front of the cabinet than something like the MD421, which will stick out much further and require a bulky microphone stand, which might get kicked over by a careless guitarist at a gig. I'll give you a sound reference here for both of these mics being correctly oriented on axis with the speaker. The MD421 is currently on its microphone stand. Now, I know that both of these mics are not pointing at the same part of the speaker. I'm not trying to make a direct comparison between the mics or the speaker. That's not the point of this demonstration. This is just to give you a baseline for what these two microphones sound like when their capsules are facing the speaker, so you can determine how much changes when I point the 421 into the floor in just a moment. I've now arranged the microphones in a way that I sometimes see at live shows where a sound engineer doesn't have a microphone stand or can't fit one on stage or is indeed scared of musicians kicking them over and just hangs the microphones off the cable. And this shows the difference between a 906 or a 609 and something with a front-facing capsule like the 421. In this situation, we've got the 421 pointed directly at the floor. What we're going to hear now is the difference between the capsule facing the speaker and the capsule being completely off axis and bouncing off the floor. As you might have expected, with the 421's capsule being 90 degrees off axis with the speaker, we are experiencing a significant drop in volume and a drastic change to the tone. We lose both the bright fizz associated with on-axis microphones pointing at a loudspeaker and much of the low-end body of the sound. Overall, the Floor 2.1 sounds hollow and thin, and there's very likely some phase cancellations going on where the sound is reflecting off the floor and interfering with the sound being picked up directly from the speaker. These effects are even more prominent with a more distorted guitar tone. I think the most surprising discovery here, having now had a chance to listen back to these recordings, is that the off-axis pointing at the floor sound isn't entirely unusable. It's certainly not the optimum arrangement that I would want to use if recording a guitar in a studio context, but when I think back to all of the times I've seen this technique implemented in the wild, it's always been in very small venues with very little stage space, with a PA system barely big enough to project over the drums, and the shows were putting on very loud rock and heavy metal bands. So what I initially wrote off as either ignorance or a purely space-saving accommodation might have been purposeful in allowing the sound engineer to gain some control over volume and bass response in a tiny, loud room. The way that the off-axis mic shapes the sound is a lot like the aggressive high-pass filtering done to guitars and live mixes to clear low-frequency space for the bass guitar and drums. And in a venue so small that the onstage cab is contributing significantly to the room sound already, the guitar mix in the front of house probably doesn't need to be fat and full bandwidth. The sound engineers in these venues were dealing with small sound systems and probably fairly basic mixing desks, and were being asked to keep up with loud, riotous bands that threatened to drown out their mix. I even remember one sound guy pleading with a drummer during sound check to not hit his drums so hard because the PA system couldn't handle it. So as ridiculous as hanging a front address mic over a cab so it points directly into the stage looks, maybe in those specific situations there was method to the madness. And I'm sure this could even be used creatively as a studio miking technique to blend into fuller bodied guitar tones for a little spice. And in way of example, here is what the 609 and the off-axis Floor 2.1 sound like blended together. Now you might be wondering what is the difference between these two very similar looking microphones, with very similar numbers in fact, the 609 and the 906. Now the biggest difference, other than just the colours and the aesthetics, is that you'll find that the 906 does have a little switch on here. And we found out that that switch, after consulting with the technical team, is a high presence attenuator. So it's bright, slightly less bright, and slightly less bright. We'll put up the graphs, you'll see where those frequencies are. This one also has a slightly more advanced capsule, so a slightly different capsule to what you find in here, different acoustic dampening, tuned a little bit different. So the sounds between these are slightly different, and this one is a little bit more tweakable. But other than that, they both occupy the same size and space, they'll hang the same on a cable, and whichever you choose really ultimately comes down to the sounds. And to address the no doubt countless pedantic comments already accumulated below, yes, the 906 and the 609 come with mic clips and can be mounted to a mic stand as well. As you can see here, I have the 609 on the stand and the 906 slung on a cable over the cab. The choice is yours. Now this lovely pair of microphones you've probably seen on my channel before. These are the MD421 and the MD421 Kompakt. Now this one, its original DNA goes all the way back to the 1960s. There's been several variants. This is the modern version that you can buy today. It's the larger body size and it's got different voicings. There's a little switch around the bottom that changes the voicings of the microphone. The Kompakt, as you can see, is more compact. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's much more suited for getting in tight spaces for live gigs at guitar cabinets or for drum miking. People love these on toms and on snares and whatnot, so having a smaller size certainly helps, and a better, more robust clip, very much welcome. But as far as I understand it, pretty much the same capsule and trying for the same sound. Although in my testing of these before, I kind of preferred the sound of the Kompakt. Perhaps something to do with the reduced body size, or maybe it's just, maybe I just like small things. So to hang or not to hang, that is the question. Let me know what way you think a microphone should be placed on a cabinet. Hung, stand, pointing straight at the floor. Love to know what you think. But that's all for now. Check out Sennheiser microphones, Summer cables, and all the other brands who have been taking part at 42 Gear Street. That's all for now. Keep it loud. Stay safe. But Colin, isn't it a really bad idea to have microphones attached to the amp because of vibrational coupling? Don't you need them on a stand so the vibrations don't affect the mic? Oh, you mean the mic that's on the stand that sits on the floor immediately next to the amp, which is also sitting on the floor and belting out volume capable of vibrating the floor. Do you not think that the amp to floor to mic stand pipeline isn't also a vibrationally coupled system? Do you think that there's really that much difference between the vibrational energy imparted on these two microphones as to make it audibly noticeable at a rock show with a drummer and a bassist also sending massive vibrations through the same floor? Yeah, shut up and sit down, you fucking roaster.